If you've been paying attention to the honorable mentions, you've likely determined that the final character is indeed going to be a character from the prolific manga series Hirohiko Araki's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. If you know me personally, then you definitely saw this character coming from a mile away. My number one favorite character of all time, as well as number one favorite JoJo character, is Bruno Bucciarati from Part 5, Golden Wind. This may be a disjointed beginning, but I would like to start by discussing his stand, Sticky Fingers. This stand's ability revolves entirely around zippers, and maybe what makes it my favorite stand is how amazingly it is utilized despite how lame that power sounds. Bucciarati uses the zippers in so many creative ways, from creating pockets of space to discreetly store objects, to creating doorways through solid walls, to incapacitating foes, to even using them as a form of transportation. There is no shortage of creativity in how Bucciarati uses Sticky Fingers, which serves as a testament to his intellect in battle. However, having my favorite stand in the series isn't the reason why Bucciarati is my favorite character. There are so many layers to Bucciarati seen throughout the story, starting with the most misleading one. When he first encounters the protagonist Giorno Giovanna, his duty is to interrogate and torture him for information regarding the death of fellow gang member Leaky Eye Luca. Here, Bucciarati seems quite sadistic and cruel, and while this is far from the truth of who he really is, it shows how seriously he takes his job as a mafioso, particularly since Giorno was indirectly responsible for Luca's death anyways. Despite all that he puts Giorno through, though, he is shown to be quite a nice individual immediately after their fight, tossing a football back to some kids who accidentally hit him with it. It's quite clear that while Bucciarati can be ruthless, he would not dare do anything so cruel and painful to individuals who are not guilty. The crux of Bucciarati's entire character is his admirable sense of righteousness and desire to do what's right, and this all started when he was just a young boy. Even at a young age, he had a desire to help others, as seen when his mother and father got a divorce, and he chose to live with his father, deducing that his mother would fare better without him than his lonely father would. In spite of this honorable decision being made with the goal of helping his father as much as he could, tragedy struck anyways as his father was assaulted by drug dealers whom he had witnessed in the act, leaving him hospitalized and near death. As he lay in the hospital, the drug-dealing gangsters paid him a visit, with the intent of finishing him off for good. At which point, the young Bruno snuck out from under the bed, and murdered the gangsters single-handedly to protect his father. Though this choice may as well have marked the end of his life as a whole. Knowing that more gang members would be pursuing him and his father out of revenge, Bruno realized he had no choice but to join the underworld himself for protection. With that, he joined the group known as Passione, getting protection from other gang members in return for doing jobs for them, ones that he saw as just as they brought other criminals to justice. Over time, he even recruited other troubled or doomed youths into his own subgroup within Passione, forming his own familia. Even still, he knew how unideal the life of a gangster was and only invited people who would be definitively better off joining his gang. When the young Narancia wanted to join his gang in return for Bucciarati saving his life, he scolded the child and told him to pursue a normal life and education, because it wasn't too late for him yet. When Narancia did join the gang of his own volition, though, Bucciarati didn't stop him and welcomed him into his familia. This is just one of the many kind interactions Bucciarati has had with his team of misfits, and all portray just how good of a person he is. Of course, this life was simply an ideal outcome of joining the Mafia, and it could not last forever. His father died anyways due to the complications from his injuries, and a few years later, the truth was made clear to him. The drug trade he so despised has been perpetuated by Passione for years now. Such a vile act, one that ruined the lives of countless youths and took the life of his father, was continued by the direct action of the boss of the organization he swore loyalty to. Rage and loathing flowed through Bucciarati, so of course, he didn't do anything. He already swore loyalty, and everyone in Passione knew that any betrayal towards the boss practically spelled death. So Bucciarati simply continued on, building his crew and doing what good he could while not displeasing the boss. This was all he could do, and it killed him inside. All of this changed forever when he met Giorno. The young boy had lofty ambitions of becoming the head gang leader in all of Italy, knowing that would mean overthrowing Bucciarati's boss. He even deduced that Bucciarati hesitated during their fight and lost as a result of that hesitation, because the sight of a drug-using kid nearby had distracted him, keying Giorno in on his suppressed moral compass. The golden ambition struck Bucciarati like nothing else, and he decided it could be worth taking a passive role in helping this kid overthrow his boss. And so, for the first time in years, Bucciarati once again made a choice that put everyone else before his own safety. With Giorno added to his group, Bucciarati continued his job as usual, but now with a clearer goal of rising to the rank of capo to gain the boss's trust. After succeeding in this goal relatively quickly, he is immediately assigned his most important mission ever: protect Trish Una, daughter of the boss. Throughout this mission, one particular fight puts Bucciarati's ideals on full display. He is willing to die to protect his team. In the battle against Prosciutto and Pesci, two enemies from La Squadra Esecuzioni, who wanted to capture Trish, Bucciarati risked his life not once, but twice, saying that the true duty of a capo is to complete the mission while making sure that everyone else makes it out okay. And with Prosciutto's ability slowly killing his entire team, Bucciarati was more than willing to drag him out of a moving train to kill them both. That's how strong his conviction had become. After many skirmishes, their mission to deliver Trish to the boss was finally complete, as Bucciarati personally took Trish to the boss himself, with goals of planting a tracker on him to find out more about him. He hears Trish express worries about the man whom she had never met. Perhaps in reflection of his own father, Bucciarati tells Trish that the boss would likely do his best to put her in a safe position, because that's what a real father would do for their child. He hated the boss, but surely if he had them come all this way, he must care for Trish. This idealism is what led to Trish nearly being killed, as the boss was not a real father. Suddenly taking her to kill her himself, the boss fled, leaving Bucciarati to realize how nauseatingly evil the man truly was. Without a care for his own safety, Bucciarati tails the boss and declares that he is going to kill him, only for Bucciarati to be vastly overpowered and killed by the boss. Even in his dying moments, Bucciarati did all he could to protect Trish, and he succeeded. Barely getting them out with their lives, Bucciarati passed away knowing that he at least did that. Except he didn't die. Giorno's stand Gold Experience can imbue life into things, bringing his dead body back to life. But of course it wasn't that simple. Bucciarati was still dying, but much slower. He was practically a dead man walking, held together by Gold Experience's life energy and pure determination. But that determination that kept him alive shined through the brightest here. He proclaimed that it was his mission to kill the boss and protect Trish, and then, one of the most moving lines I've ever seen. As it is phrased in the English dub, "The actions I take are righteous and just. I've no regrets. Though our world is unjust, I will strive to walk the path I believe in. Righteousness and self-sacrifice at all costs if it means a better world." That is what Bucciarati stands for. I could probably go on and on and on about his roles later, and how they further reinforce his mentality of sacrificing himself for the sake of everyone else, but it's important to note how this was distinctly not who he was prior to meeting Giorno. He let fear overtake him, knowing that betraying the boss that he was forced to serve meant certain death. When he met Giorno, though, a young man with ideals and the desire to pursue them regardless of the cost, Bucciarati realized he was practically already dead anyways, living a life of servitude for scum. Seeing Giorno before him was just the catalyst for him to do what's right, to do what he always wanted to do what he was always meant to do, regardless of his safety. Of course, even though he doesn't care much for his own safety if it means the betterment of the world. Watching his close allies, comrades, friends, Abbacchio and Narancia, die due to their choices to join him absolutely broke his heart. He saved them from poor circumstances, but in the end, they were still marked for death the same as him. The last time Bucciarati's corpse body ever bled was when he tried to put on a strong front for the remaining group upon seeing Abbacchio's corpse. Even still, he did just that. He put on a strong front for his group, because that's what a capo should do. Bucciarati had to make the tough calls, so he had to own up to them, no matter how much they hurt. There is one more scene to touch upon before I wrap this up. The glorious death of Bruno Bucciarati. In a plot to not only save his friends from the boss, but also to save the entire world from the recently awakened stand known as Chariot Requiem, Bucciarati sacrificed himself one last time and finally died. As he passed on, his spirit said his last goodbyes to Giorno, thanking him for reigniting his just heart, even if it did have him fated to die in the end. With his heart at ease, he tells Giorno to take care of the rest. As his spirit, made of golden wind, ascends into the sky, a wondrous orchestra plays. He is lifted higher by a group of cherubs, welcoming him to heaven. After all he went through in his life, this magnificent ascendance to heaven was the best way to see him pass on. If he had to die, and of course he did, this was the passing on he earned. If you made it to the end of this video, or to the end of all the videos in this series, or watched any of them at all, thank you so much. Fictional characters truly mean a lot to me, and I wanted to share my love for some of my favorites. I know that we're all busy these days, so I sincerely, wholeheartedly thank you for choosing to spend your time by listening to my insane ramblings about non-existent people. Have a wonderful day.